It all started with a scratch, a single, harmless scratch from a dog named Max. But by the time the dust settled, a buried secret had resurfaced, and an entire town would never look at its past the same way again. In the sleepy town of Elmridge, nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, nothing much ever happened. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other by name, where birthdays were announced on hand-painted signs, and where the biggest controversy was usually about which bakery made the better apple pie. But all that changed on a warm Wednesday afternoon in early May. The daycare center, Little Oaks, was a cheerful place filled with laughter, crayon drawings, and the smell of peanut butter sandwiches. It was run by a gentle-hearted woman in her early 50s, Miss Clara, who had been a preschool teacher for over 3 decades. She treated every child like her own, and the parents trusted her implicitly. That day, Miss Clara had brought her dog, Max, to the center. Max was a retired police K9, calm, disciplined, and fiercely loyal. The kids adored him. He would gently let toddlers hug his neck and chase foam balls around the backyard like he was still young at heart. No one gave it a second thought when Max wandered inside during story time and began pawing at a worn-out corner of the wooden floor in the reading nook. "Max, stop that, sweetheart," Miss Clara called out from her chair, not looking up from the book. But Max didn't stop. He scratched more persistently, letting out low, uneasy growls. A couple of the children noticed and began to giggle, thinking he was playing. But Miss Clara's instincts told her something was wrong. After the kids went home that evening, she returned to the spot Max had been obsessed with. The floorboard was old and slightly warped, so she pried at it gently with a butter knife. To her surprise, it lifted easily, revealing a thin layer of compacted dirt. Digging a little deeper, she uncovered what looked like a wooden trapdoor. Her heart pounded. This building had been a daycare for as long as she could remember. What could possibly be hidden beneath it? She called the local authorities, and by morning, the daycare was swarming with police, historians, and even a local news crew. They pried open the hidden door, revealing a narrow set of stairs descending into darkness. The air smelled of damp earth and old memories. Flashlights illuminated a cramped underground room lined with dusty crates, rusted tools, and, most shockingly, a faded journal tied with a red ribbon. The journal belonged to a young woman named Elsie Walker, who had once lived in Elmridge in the 1940s. Her entries painted a harrowing story. During World War II, the building had been used as a makeshift refuge for people fleeing persecution, women and children whose husbands and fathers had been taken. The basement had been a hiding place, built in secret by townsfolk who believed in doing what was right, even when it was dangerous. Elsie had been only 19 when she took part in the secret mission, helping families hide, feeding them, comforting the children, and documenting everything in her journal with the hope that one day, the truth would come to light. The last entry simply read: "If you are reading this, please remember us. We were scared, but we had each other. We believed love was louder than fear." As the news spread, emotions rippled through Elmridge. People gathered outside the daycare, some in silence, others in tears. Elderly residents began to recall whispers of hidden rooms and brave neighbors, stories long buried in shame or forgotten over time. Families discovered that their ancestors had been among those hidden below, or among those who helped protect them. Miss Clara, who had always believed in kindness above all, found herself at the center of a town-wide reckoning. With her voice shaking, she gave a heartfelt interview on the local news. "We teach our children to be brave and kind, but it's easy to forget that bravery can look like a hidden room and a quiet act of defiance." These were ordinary people who chose compassion. Max didn't just scratch a floor, he uncovered a legacy of courage we didn't know we had. The town rallied to preserve the space. The basement was carefully excavated, the journal placed in a local museum, and Little Oaks was temporarily moved while the daycare was renovated to include a memorial corner for the secret refuge. Parents brought their children to learn about the town's history, not the sanitized version, but the real, raw truth of people risking everything for others. Miss Clara and Max were honored at a town ceremony. Max, wearing a red bandana and his old K9 badge, sat calmly as children cheered and petted him. He had no idea what he had done, but maybe, on some deeper level, he knew he'd found something that mattered. And for the people of Elmridge, the daycare would never be just a daycare again. It was now a symbol of hidden strength, quiet resistance, and the truth that even the smallest action, a scratch on the floor, can lead to something world-changing. In the end, the story wasn't just about a dog or a trapdoor. It was about how the past has a way of asking to be remembered, and how courage isn't always loud. Sometimes, it hides under floorboards, waiting for a loyal heart to dig it up.